live, over 30 years of experience. That's what it said. I just read that. See right down here below here, I was reading it. This is AskTom Live. See, I could read that here too. Right here on, YouTube Live, Facebook Live. We answer home improvement questions. I'm Tom Tynan. I've been doing it for a long time. And, of course, on the radio is where I did it the most and continue to do it the most. It's almost 35 years now and going strong. And that's in Houston, Texas on Sports Radio 610, where I just answer people's questions. Surviving home ownership. It's not the easiest thing in the world, as many of you know. And if you're thinking of buying a home, you'll find out. Because a home always needs something, just like everything else in life. And, of course, on Saturdays, 9 to 12, and Sundays, 8 to 11, on Sports Radio 610. And on Saturdays before the show, your house does not sit on an island alone. It has things all around it called landscaping and planting and gardens and who knows what else you're going to do. When it comes to the gardens and the planting and the landscaping, it's all with Danny Milliken before me on Saturday from 7 until 9 on Sports Radio 610 also. And he answers home improvement questions. And the man that puts it all together just appeared like magic, Mr. Charlie Mosier. He's the one that runs the whole thing. He is the orchestra leader. I'm just the trombonist.
I just push these buttons and magic happens.
Yes.
That's what happens.
Yeah, that's usually pretty dangerous, too, when you start pushing the buttons.
It's magical stuff, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So, we're here to answer your questions. It's, we're doing what Tom does on the radio, but we're doing it on your computer instead. And that's the idea. And if you want to send us a question, you can put it in the comment section down below, and we will take care of you with that.
That's why they make me wear this shirt, because on the radio, I'm pretty much in my bathrobe. But here, I wear a shirt.
Yep.
I don't know what else I'm wearing, but I wear a shirt that says Home Show Radio.
Which tells me it's time that we got to what's in the news.
Yes.
Up around the corner, up your block with home improvement stuff that can change your life and all that. And this week we're talking about how in the buyer's market that we're in right now, it's actually starting to chase people off, Tom. I read this week in a couple different sources, but mostly from the HAR, the Houston Association of Realtors, that mortgage rates may be historically low, but so is home buyer morale these days. And even so, the Houston housing market recorded its 13th consecutive month of positive sales, which is good. But according to these resources, the single-family days on market is one of the measurements they use to know how the market is doing, fell from 57 to 29 days in June. Meanwhile, Fannie Mae says the sentiment index, the purchase sentiment index, fell. That said that 64% of people believe that now is a bad time to buy, which is up from 56% in May. So people are starting to get discouraged. And part of that is that the average price of a single-family home is up 23.7%, and that's enough to scare anybody off out of buying a home. But another number they look at is something called pending sales, and that's a forward-looking indicator of closed sales in 1 to 3 months. It also increased by 3.1%. So the market is go, 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 yet it's scaring people off. In fact, single-family home sales in the greater Houston area increased by 13.6%. And so what we've got is this stratospheric pricing, bidding wars, and low inventory. It's making people frustrated. It's fatiguing people. Because right now in Houston, the median price for a single-family home is about $314,500. That sounds like a lot, doesn't it?
It doesn't across the country. And for our compadres that are listening in New York, Chicago, L.A., California, wherever you want to go, that seems like, wow, that's awesome. And we're talking about probably some pretty big homes compared to what they're paying for in Boston, for instance.
I got an example.
That would buy you a 2-bedroom apartment, right?
Right, maybe. It'd buy you use of a parking space Monday through Friday during business hours.
Right.
But in San Francisco, the median price of a home there is about $2 million. So that is the deal. So what they're saying now is, though, that it seems that the market is starting to stabilize, not normalize, but at least stabilize, and that is what's going on. And we'll keep an eye on that and let you know as we continue to watch what's news for you here at Home Show. So
I can tell you, I'm in the market for a home, Charlie, real quick.
Are you?
And all that stuff is true. And the other thing that's not in that list is what's being offered to people right now is not the finest homes out there either. So they're having to step down the quality of what they're looking for and the options and all the different details and stuff in a home, because the really nice ones people are holding on to. They're not selling.
Yeah, and they say that actually that I didn't get drilled down into this because my wife Sandy says those segments run long, and so I'm trying to keep them short.
I know. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have kept it going. But.
Yeah, but I will tell you this: that the thing that's inflating the median home price in Houston is the upper end houses are exploding in price. They're going through the roof.
And it's about time the rich people make some money off their homes. Most of the time they lose money, believe it or not, because they buy it at a high price. Now they're trying to recoup some of their asset money.
Right, because it's nothing like recouping your asset.
Yeah, well, you sit on it all day, you might as well.
All right. So here's how it works. If you got questions, you can send them in to us. You can put comments in the section below. We'll answer them. We also have questions from the Ask Tom section at homeshowradio.com. We're going to answer some of those, and we're going to do that for the next 20 minutes or so here on Facebook Live and YouTube, and we thank you for being with us. All right. First question comes from Dawn. She says, I have tile throughout my house except the bedrooms. Some of the grout is coming out, and when you tap on some of it, the tile sounds like hollow. Could this be a foundation problem, or do they just need to be re-cemented into place? What say you?
Well, the first thing I can tell you, it's not a foundation problem. That is not a sign of foundation problems. If you talk to some of our friends in the Dutton family who run Due West Foundation Repair, started it, the founders, still going today, they see this all the time. People call and they get so nervous because they're expecting, $40,000 in repair costs and this and that. That's not what's happening. It could be a bunch of different factors, but without going into all the factors, the bottom line is this: they're going to have to come up and be relayed again. You're right, not necessarily in cement, but you do it in a thin set, in a multi-purpose thin set, and watch the details around the edge. They might have been laid too tight. Or quite frankly, what happens with a lot of tile today, if it's laid within the last 10 years or so, the skill set is falling fast. And the guys laying the tile, the guys that are all over the floor, they're not the lead tile guy who's been doing it for 30. He can say he's been doing it for 40 years, and he might. But they're not getting that tile set down into that thin set properly, and they're not mixing it properly. And so it becomes weak, and then one starts to pop, and they all start to pop. Anytime you hear a hollow noise, you know it wasn't set right, because in theory, you should be able to take a dish and set it down in that thin set so it's set so well you can walk on it and it won't crack, because as long as there's no movement, it won't crack and fracture. So it's usually the installer or the installation practices that are really the culprit on something like that.
So it's improperly put in the first place.
Yeah, you take the little rubber hammer and you pound it down in there and squish. They don't do that anymore. They just start throwing them down, boom, 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 and they're going, and then that's it. They kind of level them as they go, but they don't take that extra moment, which takes time, to embed it properly and make sure they're all embedded so you don't get this going on with your tile, and that'll really irritate people when that happens.
Yeah, it happens in a lot of industries. You're finding that there's... Yeah, we were talking about this yesterday, that we are essentially at full employment right now because everybody who wants to work is.
Yeah, and a lot of people that would like to get in the construction business don't have the skills to do those jobs. There's the other problem is we haven't trained our people. Not just in the construction business, I'm going to stick with that because that's what this is about. But in the construction business, there just aren't enough skilled people. We need to actually bring them in from other countries now that have the skills to do these things, because we don't have them trained now. It takes years to train them. And quite frankly, not everybody in this country wants to work with their hands anymore. It's a very rare thing today.
All right, Dawn, I hope that answered your question about your tile. And if you want to redo that tile floor, you need one of our Home Show Pros for you, by the way, because I know you're in the Houston area. You can go over to homeshowradio.com. That's where we keep our Home Show Pros, by the way, right there on the homepage. Scroll down, and there they are. We have them by name if you know who we're talking about. If you're not sure who you're looking for, but you know what you need, we got you covered with a list there that has them broken down by category. Let's get to some of the questions we got from homeshowradio.com, Tom. First one comes from Sal. He says, my next door neighbor had some foundation work done. The neighbor on the other side had a root barrier put in her yard between two live oak trees. I'm not sure what to do. I have no problems here. Do root barriers really work?
Well, they work if you need them. It's like anything. Do you need it? You don't have any problems? How far away is the tree? Is your yard watered regularly? There's a lot of factors going on. If you'd like to talk to someone here in the Houston area about it, you could call Due West and have them come out and evaluate it. But quite frankly, unless that tree is invading your property, hanging over your home, and you're seeing signs of any kind of movement or drying of the soil or that kind of thing, then a root barrier might help you. But just because your neighbor does something, and I see this a lot, everybody in the whole block wants to do it now because, it's the thing we have to do, and it's not necessarily for everyone.
So, yeah, and I've seen that monkey see, monkey do kind of thing happen with home improvements. Like, well, you had your foundation done, I should have mine. No, that's crazy. So
and with roof, you get a hailstorm and one guy gets a roof. Everybody wants a free roof, as they say, but everybody thinks they need a new roof.
Right.
I haven't had, my next door neighbor has had 4 roofs. My roof has not been damaged at all in the same storm, and we're 50 feet or less apart.
Right.
So it just depends on the way the roof is, the kind of materials you have, and then the luck of the draw and all that good stuff. And I kind of question if he really needed the roof too, but that's between him and the insurance company.
Hey, we were talking about the tile a minute ago, and Sandy, my bride, just wrote in. She wants to know, if you have these hollow sounding tiles, should you fix them or just let them be? Aren't they going to crack if you don't do anything about them, Tom?
Maybe not. It's a good question, and it's that old adage, is it worth opening up a can of worms? Because you start taking one out and all of a sudden it just starts loosening everything. People ask me, I hear the hollow sound, Tom. Will it eventually crack? I don't know. I can't tell you. Nobody can tell you. If you drop something at the right point, at the right spot, will it fracture it right there? Probably, if there's a hollow spot under there. Could it be over to the side of the area where you never walk on it or anything and nobody ever goes over there? You just clean it once in a while? It could be there 100 years. I don't know. I don't think I'd start pulling them up unless I started to see a problem with them popping up. And then, you can do some investigation. But I would not mess with it if you found one tile that sounds a little hollow. No. I wouldn't put a piano on it, but that's it.
But that's probably, we don't keep our piano in the kitchen anyway.
Well, some people might. I don't know.
Maybe so. Maybe Barry Manilow. Or maybe Billy Joel would have a piano in his
who
kitchen.
I was thinking of? Liberace.
Liberace. Yes. He was flamboyant.
A name that only us old folk know about. He was the LA guy. Las Vegas guy. Yep.
So, hey, just to kind of do a Jen Psaki on this and,
circle around. Circle back.
So, if back to the first question we had from Dawn, when you have that tile, do you get some thin set and put it in place and then grout around it, or
if you have a tile pop up, for instance, or it's so loose you kind of take a chisel and pop it up, you don't want to break it. That's the problem, is if it's just got one hollow spot but the rest is set and you try to bring them up, what they do is they're going to crack up, and then you're going to end up needing to call the dustless tile people and
cutting edge tile removal.
The cutting edge. I forgot this. Okay. I knew it was a C.
Yeah.
Cutting edge tile removal and get it up with all the dust.
Two old men holding each other up here. That's what we got going.
I remember the cutting CET on my little sheet that I had. Right. Anyway, they do a great job, but I don't want you to do that because first off, Charlie, you went through this. Do you have replacement tiles? If you don't, then we're going to go to Texas floors because we're going to have to buy tile to go ahead and tile the whole floor. So I don't want people bringing it up. But one pops up, what you do is you take a putty knife and you scratch off everything you can on the concrete floor where the thin set is, and then vacuum it up if you can, get it all up. And then go ahead, and if there's a lot on the back of the tile, you can take a belt sander or a circular sander and get it off as smooth as you can. Butter the back of the tile with the thin set, and then squish it down in place.
Fair enough. Hey, I haven't done a roll call here yet of everybody that's come on.
I know, I was getting nervous. Maybe we weren't broadcasting.
It's just you and me talking to each other here.
Yes.
We're doing it for sheer human pride.
We've done that before.
Some Sunday mornings it feels that way. Donnie and Dwayne and Jay and Lucy and Sally and Lana and Dawn, of course, who helped you out. Albert and David and Sandra is watching. Sandra, one-time famous TV person and Emmy award-winning television producer.
Oh, okay.
Yes, she is. She's
right down the hall. Well, I can't run. She's right across the door there.
We've harvested the power of the internet to be able to see what we're doing in the next room. Anyway.
Wasn't that like Howdy Doody? Didn't they used to say, I see Billy and Bob? And wasn't that Howdy Doody?
Yeah, something like that, except this time we really can see you. So,
yeah,
all
really,
right.
no kidding.
All right, and thank you. And CJ's here too, and he's got a question for you. He says, I have a 4-foot brick wall surrounding my patio on 2 sides. The brick house is the other 2 sides of the wall patio. The wall is pulling away from the house. Who do I contact to reattach to the house? Does that be Due West, a brick restoration company, maybe Mike Ball?
No, a brick restoration company. There's some tricks to doing this. Due West is not going to do anything like it. They fix foundations that your house is sitting on. Mike Ball, if he wanted to tear it down and re-landscape or have one built in your new landscape plan, that's different. But there's a lot of brick restoration repair companies that will do this, and they'll probably have to dismantle a little bit. It's not that it's going to attach, but it needs to stay in place. Excuse me, I had a sneeze.
God
it's
bless
not what you would think. Thank you. When they come, even on radio, you can't stop it, ladies and gentlemen. I've been there on radio. I have a little button over here, but with the camera, it doesn't work. As far as that goes,
how about this?
Repair company.
Hey,
Yes.
you know what I can do? I can do this for you.
That would work really well. Okay, excuse me. Anyway, that's who you'd call, and you'll find these people. They rebuild. Okay, you have brick mailboxes in your neighborhood, and somebody had a little too much to drink and runs over a few of them in the neighborhood trying to get home. Who repairs them? Brick repair companies. You have some brick veneer on your home. You have a lot of cracks and stuff in there. It's not necessarily foundation repair, or after you have foundation repair done, about 3 months later, you go back and repair the cracks. That's exactly what brick repair companies do, as well as maybe the entryway to your neighborhood that had a big brick, beautiful entryway that somebody decided to back into. So they have a special skill set to match things, match the mortar, make it look old when it's not, make the brick if they can't find replacement. Actually go in their shops and they stain them and they paint them and they do what it needs to match all the other bricks. So there's a real skill set with them, and there's some good companies out there that'll do that as well as fix your wall.
All right, got one here from Andrew in Katy. He says, my mom lives in a home that was built in 2001 with single pane windows. She's considering upgrading them. She's also mentioned getting a whole home generator, and she's wondering, before she starts making upgrades to the house, Tom, which ones provide the best return on investment? I know it's one of your favorite questions. If she decided to sell next couple of years, where should she put her money? And I'm going to go out on a limb and say the generator isn't one of them.
Yeah, and quite frankly, windows aren't either, because windows have a long payback period. Now, here's what's going to happen, and especially, Charlie, you've been talking a lot about all the sales of homes and the way the market is and whatnot today. People aren't going to say, oh, I'm going to spend $20,000 for the exact same house, although the windows are better. They're going to buy the one that has the lowest price if they're identical. So it's not that you get your money back. When you upgrade a home, you do it for yourself. Now, out of those two, unless the windows were falling out, I personally, and this would be my personal, what I want, Tom Tynan wants for him, I'd want the generator, because I don't like losing power and I can get new windows later. I want my generator and my power on all the time. Some people might rather have the window. But as far as whether you're doing a new roof, windows, any of this stuff, for you to think that if your house is worth $158,000 on the market without it, you spend $20,000 for this new device or these new windows, it is not going to raise the value of your home $20,000. It just doesn't happen. So when you do expensive and nice upgrades like this, do it for you. Don't do it for a resale issue. It will, though, I will tell you this, maybe not in today's market, but this is going to end soon. It will help you sell the house faster, because people will say, oh, that's something I want. Let's get that house. So it'll go on the market faster. Maybe today with the way people are bidding a little bit, get a few dollars, but don't think it's ever an investment. I don't want people to think that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think the advice I remember from you on selling a house is clean it up, put a sign in front of it.
That's it. Sell it as is. I'm about to do that. I'm going to Dallas on Monday, doing the same thing on my father's property. Yep.
Yeah, it's got to be
sell
hard.
it as is. I'm going to clean it up.
Yep.
I know. No, it's okay. So I do the same thing, and I've done that with all the homes I've ever owned. Now, of course, my homes are in really good shape, but because I'm Tom Tynan. But I've never lost money on property, so I think you can do the same thing. Just take care of it and maintain it. That's what the show's all about. That's what we talk about here. Charlie's puts us together for not only for me, but a beautiful tree and a garden out front of your home can sell your house really quickly too. And there's Danny there for you also. But it's your daily routine of taking care of your home that helps you get the home sold faster.
Yeah, if it's about the gardening, we'll never be able to sell the house because Sandy doesn't believe anyone will ever take as good a care of it as she does. And by the way, I know it was your birthday.
Maybe true.
It was your birthday Saturday, right?
Yes.
Right. And so just in case y'all didn't know, it was Tom's birthday Saturday. Today is I call her my mother outlaw, my first wife's mother, Josephine's her birthday today. And Monday next week is my mother's birthday, and I'll be doing an early edition from her house on Sunday morning, so in Salt Lake City.
And if we're going to do that, tomorrow is one of my ex-wife's birthday. I don't remember which one, but I know the 20th was.
The 20th. Can't remember which one. She's like a Johnny
There's
Carson.
There's a lot of birthdays out
there. Okay. Mark
I'm
in
not
Syracuse.
lying either.
I don't know if it's his birthday, but he says he saw one of our YouTube videos on insulating a cathedral ceiling, suggesting that in the video to pack it tight with foam. Should one account for the type of roof and shingles being used on the outside in doing this, as the foaming, he believes, will make it a hot roof? And will organic shingles curl up from lack of cooling on the roof during the hot summer? Should a metal roof or fiberglass shingles be used instead? What say you, Tom?
I don't remember any videos of packing anything with foam that I would.
Now, I think what he's talking about is one of our Ask Tom videos where we're talking about people with the cathedral ceilings where they couldn't get the ventilation, and you said if you can't ventilate, to seal it tight.
Seal it tight. That means the soffits and the ridge vents, don't use any of those. Seal the whole system tight. But there are some cool things in this question that I want to hit on. First off, organic shingles. They don't exist anymore. The old organic shingles, they quit making them. They're all fiberglass mats now, or metal, or some of the other things. So those things aren't on the market anymore. That's why you don't sell shingles by weight anymore. And I would have to say probably 20 to 25 years. They got out of that. Prestique was the first manufacturer to come up with a fiberglass mat. And then as soon as they got their patent came out, or they started selling to other manufacturers, they all went fiberglass mats. So the weight is actually less, and the life is much longer now. Now, a insulated attic, whether it's radiant barrier, whether it's packed with foam or with fiberglass insulation, which I would pack it with, and then go ahead and seal it up if it's a real tight space. Don't let air in there because you don't want moisture to get in there as far as humidity. And doing the show here in Houston, the Gulf Coast, and with coming from Brownsville, they're getting hit with a tropical storm Friday or tomorrow or Saturday. I live this life down here.
Is this why you scheduled the trip this week?
Yes, this is.
Okay.
Yes. I might have to go back down and be deployed with the guard. We'll see how bad it is. But the fact of the matter is that I live in a very humid area, and the show we do is about humidity, so that's why we talk about those things in that way. But it goes anywhere you would want to do just with that if you can't ventilate an attic properly. So I don't care what the materials are, metal, a good fiberglass mat. You can use any roof you want. It's not going to raise the temperature or make it a hot roof by any means. Your attic does not cool a roof. And the radiant barriers, people say it heats up the shingles. That's baloney. That has been researched to death. It doesn't do anything. There's about a 3 or 4 or 5 degree difference depending on the color of the shingle. The actual color of the shingle makes more difference than anything on how hot it'll get to touch. So the darker the colors, the hotter the shingle, but it still doesn't affect their life.
All right. Speaking of keeping cool, Oscar over in Missouri City and here in the Houston area says, I'm in the process of replacing my 3-ton AC system, and since the temperature is getting much hotter, should I replace it with a 4-ton unit?
I smile at this question because you would want to, as hot as it's getting lately. I was leaving town, like I said, on Brownsville yesterday. It was 102 degrees. I'm thinking, yeah, I'd like another ton of air conditioning right now because I was overheating. But the fact of the matter is this. If your home with a 3-ton during August is handling the temperature you set it at and cycling normally, adding another ton just because it's really hot now is not the reason to do it. If you've lived in the home and you've had a 3-ton unit, and we've gotten in, if you're in Houston, I'm going to use Houston right now, South Texas as an example, and it's unbearable or not reaching temperature that you want during the day in August and September, then you might start thinking about more capacity. Absolutely. But it's not just because now you're replacing it in August. If you were replacing it in January and you still had that problem in August, I would still ask you to up the capacity of the air conditioning system to handle what's made you very uncomfortable. And people say, well, it's going to cost more to run. It doesn't. In fact, it costs you more to run one that doesn't get to temperature because it runs all the time. You have it set at 76 and it won't get below 78 or 79. And so it's costing you a ton of money to be uncomfortable. And that's the worst thing. Last thought, energy efficiency is not how cheap your electric bill is. It's how the least amount of electricity you use to have your greatest comfort level. That's energy efficiency.
Okay, fair enough. And if you're looking for somebody to put that in, by the way, recommend some of our home show pros. You got to pimp them again here one time. Find them at homeshowradio.com right there on our website. Scroll down. You'll find them all right there. And, of course, it's Absolute Comfort Air would do that job. And you can find them right there under air conditioning as well if you're looking for them. All right, got one last question for you here before we're done, Tom. William in Altaloma, Texas says, if you were replumbing a home, would you use CPVC or PEX? Has PEX been out long enough to prove it's reliable? It sure is reliable, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. No, and this is an easy question to end the segment on. I would not use CPVC. That's been around forever. I got it on my swimming pool. One of the joints broke the other day. I mean, it just happens. It's glued together. It's plastic. And I know PEX has got some plastic properties too. But the fact of the matter is PEX is not something new. It's something new to some people because they're not dealing with construction, every day of their life for the last 30 years, 40 years like I have. And I've watched everything come from galvanized to copper. CPVC, it's okay for a weekend home, a cabin, something like that, or you're adding some stuff on like a water softener where it's outside. There's some places for it, and it's very easy to work with. Sprinkler systems. But as far as your home, the PEX today, they've got some commercial PEX, and I actually switched when I was still building homes to the Uponor product, and it was a fantastic product. It wouldn't freeze. I mean, you could still have problems with the joints and stuff, so you still have to drain your pipes. I always want to throw that out there when we get a freeze here in Texas. But the pipes themselves wouldn't split and do things like, say, copper would. So the PEX is by far the choice today. No problems whatsoever, and they've been around long enough to where you're not going to see any.
Would you use, if you're plumbing a house, Tom, what about copper versus PEX?
If I was doing my house today, I would use the PEX. I would use the Uponor product. My house today that I built in '97, it's got all copper. But copper will freeze and copper will split. And I think, Charlie, you discovered that on this last freeze. He's smiling. You got a new bathroom out of it. It's beautiful, I'm sure. I haven't seen it yet.
Well, we were getting it anyway.
Well, this just accelerated it.
Yeah.
As like the water through the sheetrock had that little split hole you had. Didn't you have a little hole in yours?
Oh, when that water went off. I mean, I should bring a picture. Bring pictures from home day maybe next week.
Yeah, there you go.
When that water went off in that pipe inside the wall, it built up so much pressure that it punched a hole, and it was like coming out like there was a faucet there. That's
what people say. Go ahead.
I was thankful that it did that, and it didn't just collect in there and become a bigger problem hours later.
And that's what I want people to know is I get questions like, I hear this drip in my wall. Can my supply line be dripping? When that supply line gets a hole, it's no dripping.
No.
Now you can get sweating. You can get a little joint that has a little drip, and you won't hear it, believe me. But when you hear something, it's going to be what Charlie experienced because you got 60 PSI or greater coming through those pipes, and then it's like putting your thumb on the end of your hose. So you have this little tiny hole, and that thing's going to shoot out like a jet. It's like a water pick.
It sure is. So that's gonna wrap it for now. Let me say this about that. If you want to go ahead and get us some of your questions, you can go to homeshowradio.com, click on that blue Ask Tom button right there on the home page, and that will take you over to the section where we take your questions. You can use the form, you can use the video. Either way, we're happy to get them. You send pictures, that helps too. Because as soon as Tom and I are done doing this little fun fest, we're going to hang out and record 7 more of these because we post a brand new one of them to homeshowradio.com because Tom likes to help people and he does it on the radio every weekend as well.
Saturdays 9 to 12, Sundays 8 to 11 on Sports Radio 610. I'm in my other home and there's my little poster on the back. You see 610 AM right there behind me. That's where you can tune in, or you can go to homeshowradio.com, and on that 610 AM, I'm doing the right hand now, that's good. Danny Milliken's on before me from 7 to 9, and he will answer your gardening questions and answer them as a gentleman very well.
All right, and before we go, I have from the Department of Who Saw That Coming? You know, we've had a lot of dead palm trees in the area, and this guy here decided that he was going to get rid of his, and there's pure genius at work with this one right here. Here it comes.
I hope he's close enough.
Perfect. Got it. Go get my beer back.
That?
All right. Yeah, that's
I
legit.
Can't believe
no,
I
didn't. What do you think? I had Mark animate that or something? No, it's real.
He would have had less damage if he had just put it in drive and just hit the dang thing and pushed it the other way.
I'm thinking. I got one more for you too. Check this out.
Yes.
Sandy, you know, we bought some land up in that Texas Grand whatever ranch thing
Grand
up
Ranch,
in New,
you don't even know.
New
You're
Waverly.
paying the
It's
price.
up on the north side. I don't know.
I thought it was Willis, north of Willis. Yeah.
It's what's that, Willis? Anyway,
Willis. Yeah.
Sandy got Sandy's on the little chain thing of what's going on up there, and she got this in her Facebook post today, and I've hidden the name to protect the innocent.
Sam Houston State Park.
Well,
right?
This guy found this in a 3-foot alligator in his pool. It spent the night in there, so I hope he liked chlorine, or maybe it's a saltwater pool. So,
they still have chlorine in it. I have a saltwater pool with got a little chlorine, but I don't think the alligator cares. It breathes air, so their skin's pretty tough. Last time I petted one and put it to sleep.
Well, if you got a picture for before we go, happy to get it, especially if it's something fun like that. And we will be back again next Thursday at 4 o'clock Central Time to answer your questions so you can ask Tom.
Got a question? Ask Tom on Home Show Radio. Home Show Radio. Free advice from a pro who knows. Home Show Radio. Home Show